Hi everyone, today we have a new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from Miniart, and it's a kit in 1/35 scale. So this release actually continues the series of the new Puma vehicles in this popular scale, and as you can see, this boxing is dedicated to Sd.Kfz.234/4, and we have here with version with a bigger gun, let's say, and you can notice it on the box art, and that's also an interior kit as it's mentioned here by this sign. And of course what I have on the table is actually the final shape of this release, and you'll be getting exactly the same stuff if you order it, for example, from Modelimex. And overall I would say the packaging is quite typical for this brand. Here is comparison with my hand. The kit number is written here, so 35427, and on the side you'll find also some information about the manufacturer, some safety advices, and on the opposite side you can see also the sign of the cartograph, because the decals are coming from there, and of course the side profiles for 4 marking options which are included here. This is a top opening box, and if I lift this top lid, here is what we have inside. This looks like a tight packaging, but actually there is still plenty of space, so it's just a matter of opening this plastic bag and checking what is supplied here. And as usual for Miniart, everything is sealed into plastic bag, so I will have to use scissors in order to cut through, but it should be quite quick procedure. And in the meantime I can also remind you that you can check the previous versions reviews on the same channel. I checked them as well, and they were quite nice. I would say that they are way better than the Dragon offering. I know that some of you were actually writing that Dragon is still, I would say, available, and available approximately for the same price, but that's exactly the point. I mean, what's the I would say the selling point of the old kit which costs the same price as this one which we will be reviewing today? I don't know, because it supplies you less features, it is old, so it's less detailed, and the only thing which might be good is that it's easy to assemble, but that's pretty much all. Even though they tried to release the new version of the vehicle, I think it's still not worth spending your money on the old kit and supporting such initiatives overall. So we starting with the decals first, and as you can see, these decals are coming from cartograph. Printing quality looks really good, and if I shade it a bit, as you can see here, the white color as well, and the symbols designation or division is also accompanied here, so you don't have to cut everything. You just get the symbols in the right shape, and you just need to apply them on the model. And usually with Miniart decals it's not an issue to get everything on your model. Next we continue with the clear plastic sprue. So this one is was packed into a separate plastic bag together with the decals. As you can see here, we have clear and crisp parts, but as usual for Miniart we do not have any masks or masking templates, so in case you would like to have a really good precise paint finish, you will have to do it with your own hands and tools, or maybe find some aftermarket. Maybe aftermarket producers will release their mask sets, and then it will be handy for a nice result on your model. So what I'm doing right now is cutting through the plastic bag and opening another, let's say, portion of the plastic sprues. Okay, so I will move this one to the side. Then we have the small envelope with the Miniart logo. So this one is used for PE parts. So we have the unpainted PE parts here, and as you can see, they will be used both inside and outside, and I think it's a really handy feature which will add you some fine features on the model. Those cannot be replicated with the plastic, so that's why these metal parts are really important, and I think in 1/35 scale they are a noticeable change, so that's why it's worth installing them. Next we continue with the first gray plastic sprue. It's a frame A, so I will place it like this, and let's zoom out a bit, maybe also open the lenses. So now you can see that here we have the hull parts. Note that all hatches are molded separately, so it means that you can position them open if you need it for some, let's say, diorama ideas. Also there you can see the interior floor, and there are some nice, I would say, surface details. So here you can see them closer, And all of this really deserves a nice maybe shading, maybe weathering, so that it will be more visible that there are some surface details implemented out of the box. Next we continue with two identical plastic sprues. So these ones are dedicated to the small parts. I would say nothing special, so that's okay, and we can put them to the side and we can move on with another one. So another one is dedicated to the jerry cans. So here they are, and each jerry can should be assembled out of 3 parts and 3 plastic parts, if we can say it. Why I'm specifying it, because there is also one PE part which should be inserted in between halves, but this is not a difficult process and the final result should be quite nice. And of course it's usually good to have such items included into the standard package. You don't have to search for some aftermarket, and you get them out of the box and you don't have to use all of them. So next, this sprue is supplied in 2 pieces as well, so maybe I'll just zoom out a bit. Here we have some Pioneer tools, we have some suspension parts. As usual for a German vehicle, here we have quite a, I would say, sophisticated suspension, so that's why you'll get a lot of small elements as well, so be ready to work with such stuff. Next, we continue with the hull panels and also the stowage boxes. Here they are, and as you can see, these parts are molded in a nice large sections, so we just need to install them carefully. And if I flip it over here, you can see we also have some guiding elements, so it's not just like the panels which should be applied somewhere. And of course all of the hatches are molded separately, which can be opened on the real vehicle. They are also separate here, so I think that's a really important feature for a 1/35 scale, because it allows you to use it for some diorama projects and make your vehicle a bit more realistic in appearance. Next we continue with the minor elements. So here is the mix of various tools and also some interior bits which will be used here and there. And again, everything looks fine. I like the surface details on those tiniest parts. And if I flip it over like this, here you can see again we have some smart design which will help you with the positioning of these parts together, so it's not plain surface on the opposite side. And on some parts where they are molded as a single piece parts, they have the features from the opposite side as well, which is really cool because not that many brands even today go with this approach. Next we continue with another plastic sprue. So here you can see the plastic wheels. So these parts will be used for the spare wheel as far as you can see. So you can choose between 2 approaches, either 2 halves combined together or this wheel which is assembled out of separate sections. I think both are completely fine, so it's just a matter of personal preference. And the same can be said about the rear, let's say, engine bay, because as you can see we have again the separate hatches, so in case you need to open and expose this area on your vehicle, you have a chance, and it's supplied out of the box. And by the way, why I'm saying that the plastic wheels are good, if you take a closer look here, you can see that we have a lot of pre-molded details on the tire walls on both versions, so that's really impressive. And you don't have to go for resin wheels, you have this in the kit. The only thing is that the weight effect is not replicated with such parts, but in my opinion that's too much to ask for. It's still better than the vinyl wheels, vinyl tires. Okay, next, another plastic bag, so just give me a moment. I'll try to cut through it quickly and we will take a closer look together again. Okay, so what do we have here? Again, the large frame with the top hull section here. So as you can see, all of the hatches are molded separately. This is a really cool thing, and even though it increases the parts count, it also might be handy for some figures placement, even though here we do not have the figurines included, but I guess Miniart will come up with some set designed specifically for this vehicle. As you can see, on the opposite side we have some small push marks. I'm not sure if they are actually present on the real vehicle, because as you can see they are quite prominent in each of the sections, so maybe for some modelers it will be a good opportunity to fill them in and sand them in order to get the flush surface. But otherwise I do not see any issues here, and that's the main barrel for the main gun, by the way. So it's a plastic one-piece element, and I don't see the muzzle brake. Maybe it will be on the separate sprue, maybe we already seen it. we will have to check the assembly manual. But next we have another interesting part which is connected with the complexity of the suspension on the German vehicles. As you can see, 4 frames only for the suspension part. So this is something to work with, and yes, the whole assembly operation will be quite tedious and repeating, and that's something you should be ready for, but I think the final result should be worth it because all of these separate elements actually give you a bit more details, and maybe they should be easier to position on the model in case you need to adapt this model for some diorama base, then it will be useful as well. And as you can see, molding quality is also good, so we don't have any flash or molding damage on those parts, which is quite nice. Okay, next we continue with the plastic wheels. So the main wheels are supplied again on 4 plastic sprues. So I'll leave one aside here, and as you can see, we have quite a simple design. It's each wheel is assembled out of 2 halves, but we have the details on the tires, and there are also, well, it's not the guiding elements, we have just the raised surface on each of the halves, so it will be easier to combine them together. But still, it will be helpful and it will speed up the assembly process overall. Next, we continue with the plastic sprue, which is dedicated to various storage boxes on the main hull. And as you can see, these are separate panels. I'm not sure if any of those are possible to open, because on the previous version they were not openable, or it was not possible to depict them in open position, so maybe here we will see the change. This sprue is dedicated to the muzzle brakes, so you can see several versions here in the corner. They are molded as a single piece parts, which is quite good, and we have also the main gun barrel, but I guess this version will not be used here. And we also have some parts for the turret, so we will see which parts will be actually used during the assembly. Next, just let me place this sprue aside. And the next sprue is filled with the interior parts. As you can see, we have steering wheels, we have also the radio equipment, various seat parts, various panels. So all of this looks good, but also all of these parts will require due care and maybe also some careful planning in order to have everything painted. And because in some cases it will be almost impossible to get to the parts later after you install them, so that's why it's worth thinking through how you would like to paint these parts and how you would like to weather them. So here we continue with the last plastic sprue. It's a sprue M, and as you can see here we have more of the interior parts. And in my opinion, they're as good as the previous ones. It's just a matter of getting all of this stuff together. And of course, the engine and the gearbox are included here as well. So do not worry, it will be replicated in the kit. Next, we have the assembly manual. So, assembly manual is printed as a large brochure. I would say that's the traditional format for Miniart, so nothing unusual here. As you can see, we have short list of the features on the cover. Next, we have 2 marking options which are included here. And well, the winter camouflage, I would say the simplest one out of 4, because this, I would say, traditional winter or forest camouflages are a bit more sophisticated. Here we have the parts map. As usual, I remind you that Miniart does not show unused parts, so do not be happy that everything will be used. Maybe some parts will have to be placed aside and you'll have to choose which version to use. Assembly process starts with the lower hull section, so a lot of parts to combine straight away. And again, you are working with interior kit, so that's why I was saying that it's important to pre-paint some parts, because otherwise it will be really tricky to do some fine painting with the brush. Note that also Miniart suggests some wiring options. You have to use your own metal wire, but I think it will add some fine features to your model, so definitely an option to consider. And the same concerns the engine, so definitely a good thing for a 135 scale build. We also have, for example, here the cooling slats can be assembled in open or closed position. Some assembly options are different for the marking options, so that's something to pay attention for. And next, you can see there are various options for the open closed hatches. Then you repeat the same tasks for the suspension assembly. Then you assemble these side panels with the wheel guards and also the stowage boxes. Here we have again some assembly options for different markings and the wheel assembly, of course. And next here we start building the main gun. As you can see, it's nicely detailed both inside and outside, so that's why it's worth exposing it by opening the turret hatches. Well, it will be visible through the top, but still maybe it's also worth exposing the interior so that it will be kind of backlighted from the below, but it's up to you. Here we have two other vehicles which I reviewed on the separate videos, so you can check it on the same YouTube channel which you are watching at the moment. Another two models which were reviewed. Here is the third marking option, again this forest camouflage, and here is another one, again forest camouflage from spring 1945. So overall, I think it's a really great release in 1/35 scale, and it nicely expands the Puma series from Miniart in 1/35 scale. And of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion, so do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.